Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 17th of August, Sunday, so I hope you have a great day and a great weekend. Now it's 7:30 in the morning, Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media and Russian language pages for this moment. Second update will be a little bit late in the afternoon, in which I will share additional news that will be reported by Russian media, and also later on I will record video for my Patreon. It's a Sunday, so usually on Sundays I do informal talk, and I will upload that video also. And yes, that's been said, let's talk about news now. But before I start, let me say thank to all of you for your attention and support, and I have a very good reason to be extremely grateful to all of you, dear friends. And the reason is that our channel did reach 1 million views. 1 million views, a little bit more than 1 million for this moment, which is a huge step for our tiny channel, really, in comparison to big names in this segment of news and political commentary. And I thank you all for your attention. Without you, this project truly would not exist, so I'm truly grateful. And by the way, on my behalf, I definitely can promise that I will try to make much more informative content. I will try to develop this project, which contains several channels right now: 2 on YouTube, 2 on Rumble, 1 on Telegram, and also of course Patreon. On Patreon, there we have a tiny but very friendly community, also like our community on main channels. And well, I will definitely do my best to develop this project and to create more content, not just about news and politics, but also about life in Russia and some interesting topics that can be shared with the world public from Russia. And exactly for that reason I did create recently second channel on YouTube and Rumble. Name of this channel is From Russia with Levan. And if you are not subscribed yet, please consider to do so, because I already have 2 videos on this new channels. One is about trip to mountains here in North Ossetia, Alania, and one about some electronic stores here in Vladikavkaz. And it will be interesting probably to see state of stores here in Russia, not just stores of food but also stores of electronics, because of this extreme propaganda by Western so-called elites and the Western media that Russian economy is in tatters. So you may find these videos interesting, and once we will go back to Moscow region, of course I will become much more active on this second channels, and I will create new content. I will try to create new content on weekly basis. But before we leave North Ossetia, Alania, I'm quite sure I will be able to upload at least 2 more videos on these channels, and of course I will inform you about it. So once again, thank you very much. We did reach this huge mark for our channel, 1 million views, and as I said, I will do my best to make sure that project is developing and channels are providing interesting content. That's been said, let's talk about news now, and I will start with the breaking news for this morning, which is that according to TASS news agency, Russian air defense systems did shut down a drone over the Belgorod region. This happened 4 o'clock in the morning, and well, no one gonna be surprised, of course, to hear about this, because Kiev regime is trying on daily basis to strike deep inside Russian territory, and unfortunately this type of strikes will continue as long as so-called Western elites are providing Kiev with money and weapons and technology. And by the way, before I continue, let me share with you a quick summary of the situation on the front line. So overall, it's operational pause all along the front, but there are of course some local scale skirmishes. So let's go from southern sectors up to northern ones. And first, Kherson region, it's mainly artillery duels between the sides as usual. Constant fight for control over these small islands in the Dnieper River and the delta of the Dnieper, and plenty of islands there, by the way. The Dnieper is a huge river. And of course, recon operations also, and constant attempts, especially lately, from Ukrainian forces to conduct crossing of the Dnieper to establish bridgeheads on the left bank. Just recently, as you know, Ukrainian side did manage to successfully cross Dnieper River in the area of Kazachий Lager on the left bank. There were some reports that Ukrainian forces even did manage to enter that settlement, but then Russian counteroffensive did follow, and Ukrainian forces were forced to retreat and disperse basically on the left bank. But still soldiers of this unit that did manage to escape from Russian local scale offensive are located on the left bank, and the Ukrainian side is constantly trying to reinforce this small bridgehead. I'm not sure if we can call bridgehead, but well, they constantly are trying at least to prepare bridgeheads on the left bank, and I believe this has been done in attempt to prepare a ground for a mass crossing of the Dnieper River, which may take place simultaneously with second wave of Ukrainian counteroffensive on this land bridge between Crimea and mainland Russia in Zaporozhye and South Donetsk sectors of the front line, where main axis of Ukrainian counteroffensive is. But overall, right now, situation in Kherson region is a deadlock. Nothing is happening that will influence situation on this sector right now. When it comes to Zaporozhye and South Donetsk sectors, there are some changes, local changes. In Zaporozhye region, in Zaporozhye sector, one of the main hot points are Pityhatki-Zhiribyanki area, and recently we had reports that Russian side did become a little bit more active in this area. Everyone probably was expecting Ukrainian side to be more active, but well, according to latest reports, it's the Russian side that are conducting some recon operations, maybe in preparation of offensive. It's possible, but main hot point is of course on the southern side of Orekhov city, in the direction of Rabotina settlement, and according to latest news, Ukrainian forces did manage to dig in northern side of this settlement. But yet again, maybe today we will receive some additional informations, because there were reports yesterday that Russian side was conducting offensive, local scale offensive in this area to push Ukrainian forces out of Rabotina and surrounding areas. So I expect some additional news today, and of course I will report about it in second update, and also on Telegram. Telegram is very useful, by the way, in this regards, because between the updates many things may happen, and I always share additional news on the Telegram. So a very useful tool, a good addition, I believe, to our project. And you can see link to my Telegram page under this video in description box or in the pinned comment if you are interested to subscribe. But yet again, even though Ukrainian forces constantly are trying to take control over the Rabotna, for now they are failing. And just recently, if you remember, head of Chechen Republic Kadyrov did make a statement that during the battles for Rabotna, Ukrainian side lost, just in previous days, Ukrainian side lost up to 1,000 soldiers. So very heavy losses on Ukrainian side. But well, we all know that Zelensky and his associates don't really care about casualties, and they are sending more and more units in this direction. And one may say that it's from military standpoint, it may seem somewhat understandable, because one of the main directions of Ukrainian counteroffensive is, of course, Tokmak here, this settlement. And I guess Ukrainian forces are pushing in direction of Rabotna to continue their offensive in direction of Tokmak, which is a major logistic hub of Russian side in this area. But yet again, Rabotna, by the way, not even on the first line of defense of Russian forces. But after Rabotna, if Ukrainian forces will be able to establish control over this settlement, then they will have to deal with the first line of defense of Russian forces. And if Ukrainian side did find it extremely difficult to conduct its offensive in the areas that Russian side don't really have very well prepared defense lines, then just imagine what will happen when Ukrainian forces will reach real first line of defense of Russian forces, with the tank ditches, with this so-called dragon teeth and fire pockets and the rest of it. It's gonna be hell for Ukrainian forces once they will reach first line of defense. But anyway, let's see how the situation develop. If we take in account how determined Zelensky's regime is to take control over Rabotna, I guess they will send more and more troops, despite heavy casualties, and to establish control over this settlement. And well, Russian mobile warfare tactic does give us reason to think that if defense of Rabotna becomes too costly for Russian side, we may see withdrawal of Russian forces on the first line of defense. But for now, majority of the settlement, territory of the settlement, is under full Russian control, and maybe even entire settlement, because for now we don't really have reports about fights during the night. It's possible that Russian side, since the yesterday late evening, did conduct local scale offensive and push Ukrainian forces out of Rabotna and surrounding areas. This is it when it comes to Zaporozhye sector of the front line. Yet again, local scale skirmishes. For this moment, nothing is happening that will influence overall situation on this sector of the front. And same we can say about South Donetsk sector of the front, where major hot point is these two settlements on Vremevsky ledge or salient, Staromayorska and Urozhaina. And according to latest reports, Ukrainian forces did manage to establish partial control over the Urozhaina. And well, I did predicted in previous update that Russian forces may withdraw from this settlement if its defense will become too costly. And I believe that's what will happen. Yet again, this will be this is expected if we take in account this Russian tactic of mobile warfare that was adopted during the special military operation. And yet again, let me note that Vremevsky salient, these settlements, Staromayorska and Urozhaina, are not even close to the first line of defense of Russian forces in this direction. Overall situation is deadlock in South Donetsk sector of the front line right now, and to be honest, I don't think the Ukrainian side has enough strength to even hope for any significant breakthrough in this direction, even if they will conduct second wave of counteroffensive. Let's continue. Next is Donetsk direction, and here we have traditional hot points, of course, Marinka, Krasnogorovka, and Avdiivka. Artillery duels between the sides, recon operations. Russian forces are quite active lately in Marinka and Krasnogorovka, especially Krasnogorovka direction, which is important direction because many logistical lines of Ukrainian forces are going through this settlement, and maybe Russian side will try to distract logistical lines of Ukrainian forces in this area, and this way influence situation on the South Donetsk sector of the front. It's quite possible, and I would not be surprised if Russian side will conduct some local scale offensive in direction of Ugledar, from the eastern side, just to make sure that Ukrainian forces will concentrate on the Donetsk sector after that, and would not have strength or resources to continue their constant push local scale, but still in Vremovsky Ledge area or in South Donetsk sector overall. But right now Donetsk direction is also deadlock. Russian side has initiative, but nothing is happening that will influence overall situation on this sector, at least for now. Next, Bakhmut direction. Initiative is on Russian side here also. On the northern flanks of Bakhmut, Russian forces regained initiative quite a long time ago. But when it comes to southern flank of Bakhmut, we still receiving some reports that Ukrainian forces still are trying to conduct some local scale offensives in direction of Kurdyumovka, in direction of Andreevka and Klishchevka, but they are very much unsuccessful and running out of steam. Without heavy reinforcements, I don't think they will be able to regain initiative. And northern sector, by the way, it's initiative totally in Russian hands, and I guess now everyone is expecting when Russian side will begin its large-scale offensive operation, especially in Kharkov direction, mainly towards this settlement Kupiansk. Ground is prepared for such an offensive operation for quite a while now, and I guess it all depends when Russian forces in these northern sectors of the front will receive green light from Russian Defense Ministry to begin the counteroffensive. It may happen before end of this summer. It may. And that's it for a quick summary of the situation on the front line. Let me go through some additional news now. And RT is reporting, yes, of course, probably you all are at this point very well aware about yesterday's missile strikes from Ukrainian forces in direction of Crimean bridge. I did share on my Telegram page information about it, and video and photo materials. According to latest news, 3 S-200 missiles were launched in direction of Crimean bridge. By the way, S-200 missiles, I mean, it's surface-to-air missiles, but I guess with the support of some NATO member states, Ukrainian forces did manage to modernize this missile, and now they are using those missiles as ballistic ones, as ballistic medium or short-range ballistic missiles. And 3 missiles were launched in the direction of Crimean bridge. All three was shut down by Russian air defense forces. At some point there was some massive cloud over the bridge, and one may think that bridge was damaged, but in reality no, it was Russian emergency services that were creating smoke screen over the bridge. I'm not expert in this field, so I don't really understand how smoke screen will influence missiles, but well, this smoke screen was created, and some people get confused. There were some comments on different pages on internet that bridges were damaged, but in reality no, it was just a smoke screen that was created by Russian emergency services. All three missiles were shut down and bridge was not damaged in any way. But yet again we are seeing time after time this constant attempt from Zelensky and his associates to strike deep inside Russian territory, and for whatever reason they are choosing to strike civilian targets. They don't care really. They don't really care. And this yesterday's incident once again highlights that Zelensky and his associates not care about civilian casualties of their actions. And by the way, also one more topic. I guess this yesterday's strike from Zelensky and his associates could be related to Russian successful strikes on decision-making centers of Ukrainian armed forces in the Dnipropetrovsk, Zaporozhye, Nikolaev region that did take place during the previous days, and Kryvyi Rog, by the way. And according to many reports that we are receiving, several decision-making centers were struck quite successfully. Among them, decision-making centers were mercenaries, foreign mercenaries were located also. And according to some reports, some high-ranking officers of NATO states also get killed and injured as a result of these strikes. And maybe this action from Zelensky and his associates to strike Crimean bridge was a kind of retaliatory measure, desperate retaliatory measure for those strikes on decision-making centers in frontline regions, let's say this way. Of course, we will probably learn some more information during day or in upcoming days, and I will share that on my Telegram and on my updates. And by the way, TASS news agency is reporting that Russian Foreign Ministry did make statement about attempt to strike Crimean bridge by Zelensky and his associates, and Maria Zakharova, official representative of Russian Foreign Ministry, said that this type of actions would not go without retaliation, and this type, according to Zakharova, this type of barbaric actions, and she's of course means that civilian infrastructure have been targeted. This barbaric action cannot be justified by anybody, which is Western elites will justify just about anything, really. But if we are talking about these so-called Western elites, but if we are talking about normal people, good people, of course they will never justify strikes on civilian infrastructure. And by the way, I remind you that Russian military don't really use this section of the bridge that is for cars, because it's just not convenient. Russian militaries may use a railway section of this bridge, and Russian militaries have many other means to deliver all the necessary weapons, equipment, manpower to Crimea by air, by sea. So this even railway section don't really play that huge of a role when it comes to logistics. But this section of the bridge that is for cars, it's purely civilian part of this infrastructure, and any attack on that civilian part is a war crime, pure war crime, nothing else, and cannot be justified. So in this regard, of course, I will agree with Zakharova, but unfortunately, we are dealing with so degraded elements in these Western so-called elites that they will justify just about anything. They are warmongers, mass murderers, criminals. I mean, they are disgrace of humanity. Let me continue. And TASS news agency is reporting that according to White House official John Kirby, who is admiral, I believe US is expecting that conflict in Ukraine will continue through 2024 also, and White House is doing its best to make sure that Congress and Senate will continue support initiatives of Biden's administration to support Zelensky's regime with the military means and with finances. As you know, just recently Biden did ask Biden's administration did come up with new project or another aid package for Zelensky's regime, and this time for Zelensky, White House wants to steal from US citizens basically some $13 billion. But yes, I mean, it is what it is, man. In 2024 there will be elections in US, and if US citizens are not happy that hundreds of billions of their money was sent to most corrupt regime in this world, then they will choose some other candidate who will be more sane, let's say, and it may influence something, may not, because grip on the power from military industrial complex and the deep state in US is so huge that maybe it not really matters who is in White House. Deep state will run things as they like anyway, maybe, but maybe not. Maybe some candidates that are not part of the so-called establishment will manage to change something. And right now I did see two candidates that are not really part of establishment. One is Donald Trump, of course, and second is Kennedy. One from Republican Party, one from, formally at least, from the Democratic Party, but I guess the so-called Democrats and the neoliberals do hate Kennedy no less than they hate Trump. Exactly for this reason, that they are not really that much of a part of establishment. But anyway, let's continue. U.S. citizens will deal with this issue. I'm quite sure they know what is better for U.S. And by the way, as long as the U.S. is run with adequate people, adequately, and it's all good for the rest of the world also. U.S. becoming danger for a world when it's run by insane people like Biden and his associates, neocons and that kind of crap individuals, neolibs and so on. But anyway, let's continue. How long is this video, man? It's 29 minutes. Okay, I will go through some of the news and I will share rest of the information in second update with additional news that will be reported by Russian media during the day. So RT is reporting that this is quite interesting. According to Washington Post, I believe, Ukraine won't fly F-16s. Ukrainians won't fly F-16s until summer of 2024. Well, quite interesting, because if you remember, I was saying for a very beginning that there is no way that Zelensky's regime will have its hands on Western-made fighter jets. It's impossible. I'm quite sure about it. And well, now Washington Post is reporting that in best case of scenario, Ukrainian pilots will fly F-16s in next summer. Which will not happen, of course. There is no guarantees that Zelensky's regime will still exist in a year's time. But yeah, well, quite interesting. And one more news, by the way. RIA Novosti is reporting that despite heavy pressure from Washington, Egyptian leadership of Egypt is refusing still to deliver weapons to US, to transfer weapons to US, so that those weapons then will be sent to Ukraine. Well, great news, to be honest, because recently relations, and historically relations between Moscow and Cairo was quite good, and I was kind of disappointed when I did see this report some time ago that Egypt may transfer some weapons to US, so that they will send those weapons to Zelensky and his associates. And well, when I read this news, which is based on an article in Wall Street Journal, well, I was happy, man. I was happy for Egypt, I was happy for Russia, and relationships between the two countries, because Egypt don't really needs to get involved in this conflict. And if government of Egypt has any chance to stay away from it, well, they should use that chance for sure. And by the way, one more news that Russian hackers from hacker group Joker DPR, whatever that means, they did manage to hack some data in Swiss, according to which that are connected to Swiss. And according to this information, Swiss government come up with a scheme or scam to deliver weapons to Zelensky and his associates by playing neutrality. And according to this scheme, some Baltic states will transfer weapons to Zelensky and his associates. Then this Baltic state will receive weapons from NATO member states, from Western Europe, from Denmark, let's say. And then Denmark will receive weapons from very same weapons from, or better ones, from Swiss. So this way, formally, Swiss is not directly supplying weapons to Ukrainian armed forces, but well, tell this to Russian government or to world community, because they may fool each other, these so-called Western elites, but they're not gonna fool rest of the world, isn't it? And as I said many times before, unfortunately, I don't see how Switzerland can be received, can be seen as a neutral state, no more. And not just because deliveries of Swiss weapons to and Swiss military equipment to Zelensky and his associates, but because of actions of the Swiss government against Russian citizens, against Russian assets in the Swiss economy. So neutral state don't really act that way. But anyway, this is it for this short update. I hope you will find this video interesting, and if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary about any topic you like, and if you can, Please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on Twitter, Facebook, Telegram, or any other platform that you are active on. That way we may get some opportunity to reach wider audience. And if you think this channel, this project is interesting and deserves to exist, please consider to support with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You will see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and see you in the second update later on in the afternoon. Take care.